Hello everybody, in this tutorial I'm going to show you how to clip guidelines to artboards in Illustrator. So as a designer, when I work in Illustrator I use guidelines quite a lot, and when I use guidelines, one of the things that irritate me is the guidelines stretch from the bottom till from the top to bottom, from bottom to top. And this is fine when you have one artboard, but let's say you have multiple artboards. So if I create the second one, and for the second artboard, let's say I have another design, and that design requires another guidelines. So these are getting in the way. I can unhide, but it is not working because these are in the way of the second design. I can do like the new guidelines in another layer, since when you create a guideline, it actually created in its own separate layer, which is fine. I can do that. Like, for example, I can add like here new guidelines on the second layer. And if I had the first one, it's just gonna hide whatever inside that layer, which is fine. But as someone like me who prefers to work on a single layer, especially when you have multiple ones. So let's say you have 15 or even 30 layers and you want to copy like elements between different artboards, between different layers. It gets confusing. It gets a lot confusing. Which object does this layer belongs to? Sorry, which layer does this object resides into? Or it just a mess. It's just going through layers, searching for your object. And I know like you can, like it highlights the object by the layer color, but this was a no-go for me because like my mind is wired to work in a single layer whenever I use Illustrator, unlike Photoshop. So I wanted a solution that allows me to clip the guidelines inside the artboard. I just want to see the guidelines inside the artboard. That's it, not outside. So I went on Google, went on Reddit, I searched everywhere. I couldn't find anything, which was pretty frustrating, to be honest. But after some tinkering inside Adobe Illustrator, like I couldn't even find how you can adjust the guideline size. But after some tinkering, if you select the guidelines, it actually have, like any guideline have a transform property. And under the transform property, it has width and height. So inside the transform, I can actually change the height. Now I can't change the width because this is not a shape that has a stroke or like a path that can change, but changing the height is all I need. So for example, this document or this artboard is, if I change this to centimeters, this is 21 by 29.7. So it's an A4 document. It's an A4 artboard. So I can simply select the vertical guidelines, and I can go to height, click 29 tab 29.7, hit enter, and voila, this is exactly what I wanted. I can do the same thing for the horizontal ones. It's a 21 centimeters, hit enter, it's done. This is exactly what I wanted, and this is exactly how it should be. I mean, it's debatable. Sometimes you need like a global guidelines that works across multiple artboards, but this is what I was looking for. But there's a catch. It's not over yet. The first thing that you will notice, if you zoom in too much, you will find there's a small gap, which can be fixed if you select the guideline and align it to artboard and align it to the center. This way it will fix it for you. It will align it properly. But the second issue which broke this method for me, let's say you have another artboard here, and let's say it's in a different size. Like sometimes you create different artboards in different sizes, and if I have like guidelines here, and I want to basically clip these guidelines or adjust the height and width of these guidelines to fit inside the artboard, I have to go click on the artboard tool, see what is the height and what is the width. So let me adjust, for example, the width. So this one is like 51 point something. I'll just copy it, go to my selection tool, and select all the horizontal guidelines, go to the width and hit enter. Now, my guidelines disappeared, right? Well, they actually didn't disappear. So if you go to the right, the guidelines will be basically, so they will resize, or any object you transform within Illustrator using the transform property will resize according to the reference point. So if you have your artboards in the middle of the document, it will work just as we've seen. I mean, it didn't work perfectly. We had that small little gap. But let's say you have like an artboard somewhere like inside the document or around. I mean, the fix to it is to select the guidelines and align them, right? But this is creating too many steps, and it was a bit frustrating. And I wanted something that is quick, that is quite quick. It works with every single artboard without like having for me to go, oh, like what's the width and height of this artboard, then adjusting it, then align it. So this is actually what I figured out. So if I select this artboard, then select all the guidelines and I click on F2, it will do that just for me. It's magic, right? Well, it's not. It's actually took me 6 hours of coding. So I created this JavaScript. So a little bit of credit goes to ChatGPT because first of all, I'm a graphic designer. I'm not a programmer. So JavaScript was a lot hard. I mean, I know Python. I know how to use Python, but JavaScript was a challenge to use. And when I first did a very basic code, it spit a lot of errors, and I didn't know where to start. So ChatGPT helped me quite a lot. But I finally managed to create this script, which I will provide in the link down in the description. I'll show you how to make it work in a single click. So first of all, what you need to do is to install the script. So where do you install the script? So if you go to your program files, Adobe Illustrator, then inside Adobe Illustrator you have your presets folder. Inside it you will have the language. For some reason they put like the language name on the folder. Click on it, then go inside the scripts. This is the script I created. It's called the ClipGuides.jsx, which just stands for JavaScript. So if I click on edit, you can basically see what this script is, what this script does basically. So download the script from the link down in the description. It's free. You don't need to worry about it. And place it here. Once you place it here, restart Illustrator so it can read the scripts folder, and click on files. Under scripts, you will find it here. It's called the ClipGuides. So if you've done this, it means like you've installed it successfully. So if I select the guides and I click file, scripts, ClipGuides, it will work. But let's say as someone like me who wants something to work really quick, really fast, how can I do a shortcut for a script? Well, it's actually pretty easy. You go to Windows, Actions, and I've actually done it twice. So let me do it again. So let me create a new folder just for the sake of it. And inside this new folder, I'll just create a new action. I'll just call it a clip guides. Okay. Now, when you create an action, you see this function key, click on it, and for actions, you can actually set a shortcut, but this shortcut is limited to the function keys. Now, I don't know if this is the same thing for Mac. I use a PC, but you can actually do, for example, like let's say F4, and you can, for example, assign Shift with it or Control to use with it, and you can like have a color for it. So I'll just go with, for example, for red, and I'll click on record. Now, if I record it and if I go to file scripts and use the script again, by the way, if you don't select any guidelines, it will promote you to select some, because otherwise it's not gonna work. And one thing that I forgot to mention, you need to set the reference point here to the center, otherwise it's gonna give you unexpected results. So just keep that in mind. So if you record it that way, it's not gonna work. So pause the recording, click here to stop recording, and click on the hamburger menu here, and here you see insert menu item. So click on that and type clip guides, and then click on find. So what it basically did is search for a menu item which here exists or resides inside File, Scripts, ClipGuides. It searched for it and it found it. So if I click OK, when I press F, when I basically select guidelines and I select the active artboard, because if I select another let's say I selected let's say I selected this artboard and I selected this guidelines. If I use the script, if I click on F4, it's not gonna do it. It's gonna align it to this artboard. So make sure you are selecting the artboard that you want to adjust the guidelines to. So if I select these guidelines and I click on F4, boom, it does the work. So yeah, so this is the script I basically created. It does one job. It's basically, it eclipses or changes the size of the guidelines to fit your artboard, no matter what size your artboard is. It's literally that easy and that intuitive. So if I create like different artboards with different sizes, and let's say like each artboard has its own like guideline, I could just like select that artboard, select the guideline, and click on F4 and it will do it for me. That simple, that easy. And yeah, that's it. Link to download down in the description. I put it on Gumroad because I wanted like somewhere to host it. It's totally free. And thank you guys so much for watching and sticking with the video till this point. And I'll see you in the next one, if there is a next tutorial, I guess. But thank you so much. Bye.